All right, here we go. We are on. We are good. We'll just start the podcast like this, Shayne.
All right. Let's do
Usually
it.
we have a good intro for ourselves before we hit the airwaves. What's your intro? What do you like to say?
Hi. Welcome to the ranch. That's it.
Mm,
Or do
keeping
the,
it basic. I love it.
oh, hey, didn't see you there. Do that one.
Is that a good classic one for the radio?
That's a classic one. Yes.
Fort Worth? Didn't you see you standing there
Oh,
on the
God. I
good side
didn't
of
realize
Dallas?
I was standing in front of a camera. Yeah. Jeez.
We are talking with Shayne Hollinger, radio personality for 95.9 The Ranch in Fort Worth, Texas. I won't brag too much about you, but I will say that you just came off that major win from the T Triple R's. Congratulations on winning that
Yeah.
on-air radio personality of the year, my friend.
There's a funny story behind that. Every single year they've had that award, I've been nominated for the finals, and that's the first year I've ever won. And this is the year that my wife about 2 o'clock, and I said it in my speech. My wife about 2 o'clock in the afternoon goes, "Honey, do you mind if I not go tonight?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure. Why not?" She goes, "I'm tired of watching you lose." So it
So she's
finally happened. Like it seems like every time I win an award, she's not there.
yeah. So
Yeah.
now this is the news that you have to break to her that she's never allowed to go again.
No,
So
I'd,
that
I'd
you
rather lose because it keeps my bit going that way. It's a funnier bit when I always lose.
Yeah, it's nowhere near as funny whenever you're winning those things.
No,
Um,
not at all.
all
Well, how are
right.
you, buddy?
Well, I'm realizing that nobody wants to talk to me until I start talking to others. So we're going to check that off. I've been great. I've been doing really, really well. Lately has been nice and tight, but there's been a lots going on with like the Texas music scene. So I
Mhm.
reached out to you and I said, man, there's like this, the boys from Oklahoma. I kind of want to talk about that.
Yeah.
And we got plenty of time to talk about that. But I wanted to talk to you a little bit about just DJing this specific type of music.
Mhm.
There's not many people like us who have done DJ work for this long, have done strictly the Texas Red Dirt scene. Watch some of these acts rise. So we've seen guys like Cody Johnson, Whiskey
Oh, yeah.
Myers, Turnpike Troubadours. I remember the first time I saw Turnpike, and I knew the sky's the limit for this band. Nobody was in the audience. It was one of those type of shows. So when you're seeing bands just come and go like this, is there something that you can see in the artist that you think maybe they have some longevity?
I've been asked this question quite a bit, and it's a weird answer for me because it sounds kind of almost spiritual and weird, but like there's this thing that happens when I hear a song, I will get emotional and like get the chills on the arm. Sometimes it'll bring tears to my eyes if it's a good, powerful song, and then I know something's happening. I don't know what it is. I don't question it, but it's worked for me for decades now. And we're always early on these really big bands that end up just being huge and make a statement and have this great longevity with their songs. There's just I was picked, I guess. That's really all the best way I can say. God reached down and said, "All right, you're the guy that's going to pick some of this music. Have fun." That's what it really feels like. It's a bizarre feeling, but it's really cool to see. And so we get those stories, like you mentioned, Cody Johnson. We did a show years ago at Texas Motor Speedway. There's 100,000 people there. We're on the infield with a concert, the only concert, and we have Cody Johnson playing, and we counted 12 people showed up. It was that early into his career. We're doing our music series again this year. We started going back through old pictures and like, hey, there's Flatland Cavalry. They were an opener. We paid them $500 to play, and like fun stuff like that. Yeah, like it's been really cool. We've done free shows with Co and Parker on the same lineup, which you could never afford now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like it's fun to watch those bands grow. It's fun when they remember. I think that's the coolest thing about it is like, yeah, man, like Parker did a what was this Pat McAfee show a couple of months ago, and he talked about he got his start because this radio station in Fort Worth called The Ranch started playing his music, and it was really cool. And he says that on a national show. So to build relationships like that, just an unbelievable feeling.
Well, I remember the ramifications of you playing Parker because I was doing a show in the Stockyards years back, and he was just getting going. It was at it's now Rhinestone Saloon. I believe it was Whiskey Girl at the time.
Yeah.
And he was out there doing an afternoon acoustic show. And I remember looking around and wondering, how does everyone in this building know all these songs? He's not playing
No.
with a full band. He's all by himself. I know I've heard this song because I'm playing it right now in Wichita
Right.
Falls, but they knew everything from that guy. They just became enamored with the talent. And I think that's one of the things that you have that is a great gift in what you do. You don't just listen for what's hip, what's new. You're looking more for where's the emotion at. And I think most creative songwriters will say that's what they're hoping DJs will
Mhm.
find. And most DJs don't. They're kind of looking to see what's new, what's hip, what am I missing? And I think that when I look at your playlist, it usually has to do with what is Shayne into, which just makes me respect the hay out of what you like. It makes me realize all those CDs. I'm assuming those are CDs back then. I don't have my glasses on.
Yeah, all
Uh,
CDs back there.
that they're worthy of the listener. So, and diving in all that, and it really does help you kind of get a sense of that, knowing who came before those guys. So that leads me
Mhm.
to the next thing I wanted to talk about, which was we've had this conversation at Larry Joe Taylor Festival where I found out you'd been doing this for quite some time. So when did you first get started, and what kind of music were you spinning when you first got into radio?
15 years old. It was 1990 when I started. Little radio station in Stephenville, Texas, KSTV. It's still there. Got started, and this guy Charlie Strickland owned it. Charlie was a really cool old guy, man, just like a radio veteran. Helped start like country coast to coast kind of stuff. Owned a bunch of radio stations, retired to Granbury, decided he wanted to buy another radio station, bought the Stephenville station that was struggling and built it back up. And he was cool to take chances on 15-year-old kids like me. And so I was, working for him, and we were doing, the 80s, 90s country at the time, which was kind of the current stuff. But I would slip in like Billy Joe Shaver and Jerry Jeff Walker. And uh, he complained a little bit sometimes, but then he saw that the calls started coming in, and it went crazy. Um, my dad was there as well, playing Texas music. He did a Saturday night, Texas style Saturday night show. So we started introducing it to the Stephenville area. And that's when it really exploded. And then Stephenville started, booking bands. City Limits would book bands like this Pat Green kid and this Randy Rogers kid, and saw this explosion of this music. And it was really fun to get to be at the ground level of a town like that, where artists ended up wanting to come to play. Like, you had to play Stephenville. That was the thing. And like, of all towns, it had to be Stephenville. But Stephenville had, bars that were booking it. They had a radio station that would play it. And they had Impact Sound, which is really cool record store in town, where Curtis, the owner, used to call me all the time. He goes, "Hey, I got this guy in. You played this song on Saturday night, and he says it had this line in it. What's the album?" And so I would tell him the album, and either he had it or he would order it and have it in 2 days. So like it was really fun to get that start. But like, it was just one of those deals where you kind of broke the rules and just kind of slid in stuff that you weren't supposed to play, but you knew was cool and you knew was going to like have an effect on people. And then it just grew from there.
That's awesome. I know that I talked to your dad, and I talked to you as well about the early years in Stephenville. That is an anomaly because I've
Mm-hmm.
been to Stephenville, and I remember hearing so much about the music scene there when I first got started. But I remember driving to Larry Joe Taylor Festival, and then I remember going to Stephenville like during the day one day. And when you drive through town, it shows you the population. And I remember
Yeah,
thinking, like, there's nobody lives here. Like, there's more people in Wichita Falls. And I just remember thinking, how
there is.
weird is this that there's not that many people that live here, but for some reason they have an incredible music scene, especially at that time. Because when I went out there, Six Market Boulevard was constantly playing there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's where I met Jerry and all of them. And anyways, there was John Young was just getting going whenever
Yeah.
I went out there, and he would host these nights where these no names would come in, like Wetzel, like these guys would come in to his open mic night. So it was a big music hub, and I believe that's where I think I met Bobby Texas. I just met so many people there. I
Yeah.
go through the laundry list of incredible musicians that just for some reason happened to stop by there or just came through. So um, I did want to ask you because Stephenville has that great music scene from yesteryear. Fort Worth, that was another town that I was kind of going back and forth when I first got
Mm-hmm.
going into music. And Fort Worth's music scene was so incredible to me. I remember one night I was hanging out with It was Joey Green, Skylar Payne, and I can't remember Drew from Cody Jinks band, the keyboardist for them.
Oh,
Drew,
hair
incredible,
call.
yeah,
Yeah.
Hercule,
Yeah.
incredible singer, great songwriter as well. But they're all three sitting there, and we're at Mags, and I look on stage, and I don't even know what they're talking about. Again, I'm from Wichita Falls, and any chance I get to see music, I'm just soaking it in. And they're yapping, and finally one of them goes, "James isn't even listening to us." And Skylar looks at me and goes, "We're pretty spoiled here in Fort Worth." And I was like, "I imagine so, because I can't believe
Yeah.
anybody's talking while this band is on stage." I don't even remember the band that was playing. It led me to kind of wonder, since you've been in Fort Worth and you see these local musicians and you see these big acts come through, in Fort Worth or in Texas itself, do you see healthy competition? And what I mean is something like John Lennon, Paul McCartney, Chris Cornell, Eddie Vedder.
Mhm.
These, I even assume Lyle Lovin and Robert O'Keen had a sense of healthy competition since they were such good friends,
Yeah.
releasing music one after the other. Is there somebody in the scene that you see has that healthy competition?
I think the whole Fort Worth scene does, and that's what I'm most excited about is the Fort Worth scene. It doesn't seem like a competition. They all are there to champion each other. You can go to a show in Fort Worth and look out in the audience, and there's 5, 10 other artists there just to support that artist and see, and watch them play and listen to them sing. And it's really cool. It seems like the very few that are in competition with people are the ones that don't ever make it. There's a thing
Oh,
with the Fort Worth music scene is like you champion for each other, and we're gonna, you pat our back, we're gonna pat your back, and that's how these artists are really getting big, I think. But like it's incredible. Just almost everyone you meet is trying to help another artist.
yeah. I think that's one thing that I've noticed too is the generosity that comes from the town always pays it back. I think that every
Hmm.
person I've ever seen that says like, "Hey, what do you need from me?" You always feel like anything this person needs, I'm definitely going to give it back. So it's that positive social gap that you get from those people.
It
Is
is.
in Fort Worth, it's really done well. And I think the coolest thing about it also is they're explaining, well, you're going to want to play this bar. If I had a nickel for every time somebody said, "James, you're playing the wrong bar," I dig your style, but that doesn't belong there. And I don't know any better. I'm just trying to
Right.
make it in Fort Worth. I'm not from there, so I'm trying to play the shows, especially in the beginning. I was just trying to play wherever I could land. And
Hmm.
so, hearing great advice and being able to absorb it is one of the big benefits of living in Fort Worth, being in Fort Worth scene. So, kudos to all that.
Right. Yeah. It's exciting to be
Yeah.
able to go any night you want and watch good music. That's the most fun part about it. It
Yeah.
really is.
So let's hop back a little bit to the T triple R's.
Okay.
Now, it was
Oh
funny
boy.
because my wife, I showed my picture of my wife of the latest awards at Texas Live, and she laughed because she remembers when me and her performed at the Larry Joe Taylor. Um, like it was at Larry Joe Taylor's the T triple
Hmm.
R's that year, and there wasn't that many people there. It was very slim, and that was less than 10 years ago.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago. Yeah.
So the scene itself or the awards itself has grown tremendously. What's your sentiments on how big the awards have gotten in the past few years?
Okay. Now this is only me. I hate awards. I hate award shows. I really do.
Okay.
I don't think any of us should win awards because we're all doing something really cool. And I don't think anybody's better. I don't think I'm better than you or any other DJ, a small market DJ, whatever it is because we are doing something really special that doesn't really get to happen across most of the country. With the ranch, you find these people that find us online and listening to us, and Boston and New York, and they're just blown away that we get to do whatever we want to do and play this incredible original music. And there's so many stations in Texas that are getting to do that. That I mean, it's neat. I think the best part of the award show is you get to see some people that you don't get to see all the time. I get to say hi to old friends. I get to say hi to other radio people that we don't ever get to cross paths hardly, maybe a festival or two a year. But God bless the people that put it on because I know it's a lot of work. But man, it's just it is what it is, I guess. I'm just not really an award guy. I don't like getting pats on the back for anything because I never feel like I do a good enough job. I'm the
Yeah.
most self-deprecating person you probably ever met in your life, but you know, it's 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 a neat, fun event to just hang out with. I would rather just hang out with all those people and listen to bands play than rather have a trophy.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Whenever I first got into the competitions, the Larry Joe Taylor competition, Blue
Mm-hmm.
Lights, I remember the best advice I ever got was from Eric Willis, who said, "You're not going there to win. You're going there to meet
Mm-hmm.
people." That was, I mean, I met Caitlin Butts, I met John Young, I've met Cleto at those competitions. I've met some of the most incredible artists ever in that little span of time, and now they're all rising and just huge. And getting to watch them from like square one, from that bottom point with you, and you're kind of all just hoping somebody's looking your way, and seeing that rise has been everything for me. So I tell the same advice to everybody else. I feel that the award show is kind of the same way. I'm with you. I only feel comfy when I'm making fun of myself. The hardest thing in the
Yeah.
world to do is after a show. My wife had to teach me this. After a show, somebody come up to you and be like, "Man, that was a great job tonight." My first instinct is to go, that was horrible.
Were you drunk? What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my wife puts me aside and goes, "You just shit on that dude's opinion, right? You just totally everything that person thought about you, you just said your opinion is wrong." So I
Right.
stopped saying that, and I've learned how to
And
just
it
say thank you.
was,
Thank you very
yeah,
much.
their opinion was wrong. Yeah.
See, you get it, man.
Yeah,
But you're not
I
supposed to tell
do.
them. You're not supposed to
But
tell them.
yeah,
There are others. There are others that do this way better. I'm just here on time.
right.
That's my whole
Right.
shtick.
Yeah, exactly. I just happened to show up today first. Yeah, I mean those awards and those competitions. That's the way that is. And I like to tell a lot of artists because I'll be a judge out at Larry Joe's songwriter contest, and every year there's somebody that doesn't win that does amazing. I mean, Co Wetzel didn't win that thing. Troy Cartwright didn't win, and he's gone on to huge things, in country music. Caitlin Butts didn't win. Cleto Cordero didn't win. And but I mean, some big names have won. We had our own little battle of the bands for the ranch. Co Wetzel and them didn't win. Six Market Boulevard got beat out by a band literally in high school. Uh, yeah, so I mean, like, you're right about that. It's not to win; it's to get your name out there and to meet some people and to meet the right kind of people. It really is.
Yeah. So there's healthy ways to really get into the Texas music scene, and I absolutely love that. So I was sitting down chatting with you at the Larry Joe Taylor Festival one year, and
Mm-hmm.
we were talking. This was what it was. I lost train of thought about it. Me and you and someone else were backstage talking. Now I could be wrong about this,
Okay, try to
but when I
remember.
got to you, some Parker McCullum had come up to us and said, "What's up?" And we said, "What's up?" Um, but I don't know if you had seen it. I had not seen it. While I was talking to everybody backstage, Parker McCullum, that was the year Parker McCullum did the acoustic guitar, Caught It on Fire.
Yeah.
And then in my head, I remember it like where you were talking to me. He came up, he talked to us, and we had no idea, I had no idea what he had done. I can't speak for you. But then he walked off, and then minutes later, someone said, "Were you talking to Parker?" And I was like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Did you see what he just did on stage?" And I was like, "No." So somebody had to show it to me because it instantly went out. That was a big moment at Larry Joe Taylor's. It was a crazy moment, of course, but I had missed it, and it made it where I was promised myself, I'm going to stop hanging out backstage. I don't want to be backstage. I missed one of the biggest moments to ever happen. Um, I think the same thing happened when William Clark Green jumped on stage for that finale with Ringling Road.
Oh, that was nuts.
Yeah. So my question to you is, what is one of the biggest, greatest performances that you've ever seen at LJT? One that just really just stole it and stole the week.
Hang on. That's a really good question. I think probably one of the coolest ones I ever saw. It was we're gonna go back to we were talking about the Boys from Oklahoma earlier, back when it was in Meridian and Cross Canadian Ragweed came on the stage for the first time. And that would have been maybe the 12th or 13th festival.
Okay.
And it was like you knew you were watching something special. Like I'd played Ragweed on the radio, but had never seen him up to that point. They hadn't played Stephenville yet. They were still doing kind of Oklahoma, and Larry Joe had found him and put him on that stage. And it was like, holy cow, this changes the whole game. Because the whole thing with Texas music was the Texas country music. which I don't like calling it that anyways. I like calling it Texas music because it's so many different genres of music and you're allowed to change. That's the cool thing about it. We give you the freedom to do that. So Ragweed came out and just did a full on in your face rock and roll show. And it was like everybody lost their minds. It was one of those moments I'll probably remember forever. I remember watching Willis Allen Ramsey out there, the guy in the 70s that did one album that was so perfect, he's never done another one again. He's tried, but he's such a perfectionist, he'll never do another album again. I saw Joe Ely, I think it might have been the first year he moved the festival to Stephenville, Joe Ely out on the big stage. And it was just like, God, this is something I'm going to remember for the rest of my life. I mean, Larry Joe has created so many moments like that. And some of it's when it's an accident. One year, a huge storm came through. I mean, an enormous rainstorm came through. Lightning cut all the power off. They didn't even have the big stage yet. They were on what they call the small all-sub stage, the acoustic stage. And that's where they were doing shows. And the storm came through and it was awful. Ragweed was on the lineup that night. The Tejas brothers were on there for the first time ever. Daryl Dodd, it was a really fun day. And power went out. We waited for hours and hours and hours, and the storm finally stopped. And I mean, it was probably 1 in the morning, and they decided they got power back. So they went up there and started playing again. A lot of guys were really drunk because they'd been on the bus drinking. But man, it was like really cool. They all kind of played together. Power went back out, and the Tejas brothers jumped down from the stage into the crowd and played for probably another hour, loud and acoustic. And it was an unbelievable moment, because like they were part of that scene and they were making themselves known. I think Larry Joe's loved them ever since then, because honestly, that night, the Tejas brothers saved their festival. I remember bringing 6 Market Boulevard out. I used to host these campfires late at night before the campfires got too rowdy. I used to host campfires late at night and invited 6 Market Boulevard to come out. And I told Larry Joe, hey, I want you to see these guys. You got to see them. So the 6 Market guys were just nervous as hell. The show's over. We go over to our campsite, light the fire. People are, pulling guitars around. 6 Market's playing, and Larry Joe pulls up on a golf cart. And I think Clayton, the lead singer for 6 Market, I looked at him. He just went white as a ghost. He got so nervous, but like they made themselves known there. And it used to be like that back in the day, where like you could walk around a campfire and see a Pat Green for the very first time. Nobody knew who Pat was before he was playing the festival, was doing campfires like that. So like campfires, I think, are my favorite thing. I wish they would get back to a little bit, the way they were. They've become these there's a few now, but it used to be you could walk around and see 50 really good campfires, singer-songwriter stuff with Randy Rogers, Stoney LaRue, and somebody you've never heard of, all playing songs. And the somebody you never heard of completely blows you away. And even Randy and Stoney are like, good God, who are you? They've become wild parties now. I wish we could get back to some more of those, but man, those campfire moments were, I think, probably some of my favorite. So I run around a lot. There's a lot of good things that's happened at Larry Joe's, as you probably figure out.
Yeah. One year I went and was awakened by my friends at like 2 a.m. and they were like, wake up, man, we're doing this big party. And I woke, I'm in my camper trying to, believe it or not, sleep, because that was the only time that I was getting sleep at these festivals, because I was working and doing music. And I was like, oh, I get to go to a festival. I get to sleep whenever I want, but that wasn't true at all. And I remember them dragging me out of my RV at 2 a.m. and there's this giant party in front of my RV. And I had no idea that it had been there for a while, that they were all just hanging out in front of my RV waiting for me. And these guys named Copper Chief just broke into song as soon as I opened the door. And I was like, what? It was like I don't know, like a gold miners from 1849 or whatever. They just looked like gold miners, and they were just like a mariachi type band. It was just so much fun happening that I did not ask for. Whether I like it or not, fun is about to happen. That's
like, here it is.
Yeah, right, literally in your doorway. But yeah, I always have a blast out of those things. Before we, wrap up, I do want to talk about I'm going to say it, the biggest concert of 2025. Is there anything? Is there any argument to that. This is without a doubt the biggest show of the year, right?
Now, when you sell 180,000 tickets in, about 3 hours time, I think that really says something. I think they could have done this show at AT&T Stadium and sold it out if they want. Oh, well, yeah, they could have. I mean, it's 110,000, whatever the max is there at AT&T Stadium. This is, and no offense to any other band that's come back recently. For some reason, it was Ragweed that kind of felt like for a lot of these bands started it all for them, and a lot of bands followed in Ragweed's footsteps. For those guys to come back, especially after years of hearing that we're never getting back together, we're never playing together. I mean, Cody told me that in multiple interviews. I just don't see it. I don't think we'll ever get back together again. And for them to finally do it is really incredible thing. And I talked to Cody about it, what finally made the decision? And he goes, one year we were sitting around on New Year's Day having dinner, talking about what our goals for the year, and everybody was saying their goal and talking around the table and his family. And he goes, I just broke down crying. Like, I wanted this band to get back together. Like, it meant so much to him, and it's just been eating him alive for so long. And now when you see Cody, he's just it gets me emotional. It makes me so happy to see him that happy again. Just a huge smile on his face. And for what it's done for music fans, old and new, it's just been a huge resurgence for this music scene. It's brought a lot of attention to the Texas Red Dirt music scene. These guys getting back together, and man, I can't wait. I've got tickets for April of the 11th. I cannot wait to go to this show. I've got no place to sleep. I don't care. I'm probably going to drive back the next, right afterwards. But yeah, and it's like 4.5 hours from my house. I don't care. Like, my wife and I are going, and we are super, super excited about this.
Well, you got a place to stay if you need a halfway point. I'm halfway between there and Fort
That's
Worth.
if I make it back to Wichita Falls.
That's if you even make it there. But I do. What's funny is I joined the scene, and the first concert I ever went to was the last concert Cross Canadian Ragweed played in Wichita Falls.
Oh, wow.
And it was one of their final concerts.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to see it. It was unreal. This is when I first started. So I'm thinking like, dude, rock and roll all the time. Like, I can't wait. And then I found out that was their last show. And I was so upset. I was like, no way, this is their last show. Bet. And then I went about maybe a year later to Cody's first show with The Departed. And I remember thinking like, oh my gosh, he sounds like Chris Cornell. It sounded like Chris Cornell. It sounded like Soundgarden. It was even more rock than before. And then I got introduced to his band. I just loved it so much. And then getting to see, at that show, people were screaming out, play some Ragweed, play some Ragweed.
Oh, yeah.
And at that show, at that time, it reminded me a lot of like Paul McCartney when he left the Beatles. Like, I'm not doing that right now. I got new music. I want to play the new music. Tough. I'm sorry, but I'm not doing that right now. To see him it took a while for Paul to kind of accept what he was, accept where he is, let go of the things that were making it where he didn't want to do it anymore, and kind of find peace with it. And I feel as though when I look at Cody online, I see that peace within him. The ability to look at what he's done for music and not bother him anymore, like to kind of ride it a little bit and understand who he is, which I'm sure was a little hard. But I still remember right afterwards, him and Seth James were on the cover of this magazine. I can't remember the magazine, but I just remember thinking, how cool is this dude? He's like the coolest man I've ever seen, and he rocks. And I remember there was some tweet after the show. Man, that show sounded like Soundgarden. And Cody reposted it and said, this is the greatest compliment I've ever heard. Like, he was so like, awesome. Yes.
Yeah, he had to go through so much. I can't imagine how hard that was for him to, go through. And we'll never know the whole story of what exactly happened that broke the band up in the first place. And honestly, it's none of our business. But for him to go through that and to give his, heart and soul to fans for that long, and to come back and say, I'm still going to create music. You guys want to hear me sing. And for people to boo, I can't imagine how hard that was on him. And I'm sure there was a lot of anger built up. And I'm sure part of that was the reason, like almost his defiance, like, I'm going to do this and I don't need those guys anymore. may have not been, but like I know that's the way I would have felt. So for people to finally start to accept the Departed for what they were, and they're still making Departed music. Like he just, I've been holding on to it for maybe 4 months. He's got a new version of him doing James McMurtry's Leveland that's unreal. That
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
he just finally gave me the approval to start playing, so everybody can start playing that. But man, like for what he's doing, it's incredible, and for finally for him to have that joy again and to see all the the joy he brought people over the years is it's really nice to see that finally.
Yeah, very grateful to watch this part of his life. And what a great lineup. You can't ask for it to get any
Oh
better.
my gosh.
I remember thinking, man, it'd be fun if all those bands ever just once decided to get back together. And in my head, I was like, well, that'll never happen. I mean, like, think about how much it costs to get Stoney, Jason, The Great Divide, or Cross Canadian Ragweed, much less
Mhm.
all of them with Turnpike for
Yeah.
one night. And the coolest part about that first night, I think it's going to be either the first night or it might be the night you go, but
The night I'm going is, yeah.
The
And
Oklahoma Music Hall of Fame will be out there.
mhm.
And they're going to
Mhm.
induct
Well,
all
and
of those
see, and
bands.
I specifically picked Friday the 11th for a reason, and it's no offense to the Great Divide. I've seen the Great Divide 1,000 times, but it's because the Mike McClure band is going to be playing that night. Some of the guys from the Great Divide couldn't be there on that Friday the 11th, so it's Mike McClure band, and Mike was one of those that first showed this scene, what you can do with a rock and roll three-piece when he did that. So I'm excited. I love the Great Divide to death. I've got all their albums sitting right here behind me. A lot of bootleg stuff I probably shouldn't talk about. But the see the Mike McClure band and for Mike to be able to be on that stage with that many people, he's so deserving of what he's done. He's like Cody, you've got your big band that you've played with, and you also have this other band that you've been working with as well. And that's what Mike does. His Great Divide and the Mike McClure band. Now he's got Crow and Gazelle, so he's got three. But it's really cool to see Mike get that recognition because he's one of those founding fathers that started this thing as well. I remember it was a long time ago, and I wish I could have found it before. I've got a box in my closet. There's a letter from Cody Canada written to us at the radio station saying, dear Mr. Hollinger, my good friend Mike McClure told me I should send you my music. And yeah, I mean, it was like Mike that did that. So, it's like not only the Fort Worth scene we were talking about, the Red Dirt scene also champions for each other and talks about each other. And so it's really cool to see that.
Yeah, I loved getting to know Mike when I first joined the scene because I would
Mm-hmm.
be in my car trying to kind of catch up when in
Mm-hmm.
2010 I was just trying to gather as much as possible. And I remember it never failed. I'd hear a song, I'd write down the time and go like, what is up with those lyrics? And it would either be the Mike McClure band or the Great Divide. It was
Yeah.
always those lyrics were always like, who would think to write that? And I'd rush to the station and it was always one of those two. And then getting to know Mike, I remember Mike came to Wichita Falls, played the pub, but before he went on stage, everybody was talking to him, and I didn't want to bother him. Somehow, me and him ended up in an area together. Somehow, we both ended up in the front row watching the opening band, and then somehow we ended up talking about Ben Folds. I didn't even know it was the weirdest. I thought for sure this guy's going to want to talk country or I don't know what he's got. I didn't know anything about him. I just knew I loved his lyrics. And then
Mm-hmm.
and his music. I didn't know him personally. And we talked about bit. I'll never forget that because the next day I thought, how weird is that? I also asked him, this is the best because I still have this text. I said, hey man, let me know if you know of any up and comers. I'm just getting into the scene. I'd love to know everything you want to know. And he just wrote back, this is the best. Hey James, great meeting you. Go look at some Turnpike Troubadours. They're gonna be great. And that was it. This was before
That
Turnpike had
sounds like
exploded.
him.
It was the
Mike,
only text he sent me. Go look up Turnpike Troubadours. They're going to be great. That was it.
see, Mike was always that way. He was sharing music, and every time I'd see him, I'd be like, because he produced for a really long time too. You did all those Ragweed albums, produced all those Ragweed albums too, and produced a lot of other artists. And I would ask him like, "Is there anybody good coming up?" And he's like, "Yeah, this guy, this guy, this guy's like, you been producing anybody good?" Well, I've been producing some that pay the bills, but this guy's the guy you want to talk about.
Yeah, he's
But
a
like
real dude.
Mike, he does. He likes to talk. He loves to talk shop, man. It's so cool.
Yeah, and one of my favorites out there. They're all going to be inducted into the Oklahoma Music Hall of Fame. So, one last
Mhm.
question before we call it. Is there someone that you can think of off the top of your head, even though they just went down an incredible list, that if you could think, man, that person should be recognized for the efforts that they've put in to this scene alone? Um, but I'm going to throw you a curveball. Someone from
Okay.
outside of Texas or Oklahoma.
Outside of Texas or Oklahoma, probably Chris Knight would be the
Oh,
first one that comes
good
to mind.
answer.
Chris Knight. I mean, like when Ragweed covers somebody and it happens to be Chris Knight, you better take notice. You know, Cry Lonely is a Chris Knight song. So there's them. Todd Snyder made a huge impact on this scene as well. He made a huge impact on my life. That Todd Snyder live album, I don't know if you've ever heard it. It's like 28 tracks, and about 14 of it are stories behind the songs. It is the most unbelievable show that you've ever heard in your life, and the funniest thing you've ever heard in your life, and the most powerful thing you've ever heard in your life on one show, one live album. It's really cool. I need to let you borrow it sometime. It's the coolest. I don't think you can even find it anymore.
Wow.
But guys like that have made a huge difference. I think BJ Barham of American Aquariums made a huge difference in this music scene as well. Uh, Outside of Texas and Oklahoma, oh boy, you did throw me for a loop. I have to think of some other ones. But yeah,
You
I mean,
You hit the nail on the head on the first one. He usually is the guy that comes to my mind because of how his lyrics are just almost just perfection. And
mhm.
I tell this to my kids whenever they were very young because we were listening to Pink Floyd. And I had to explain to them that some music makes you happy, some makes you sad. And in case of Pink Floyd, sometimes it'll scare you. Chris
Yeah.
Knight scares me. He's like a horror movie come to life in the music, and I love every second of it.
The most scared I've ever been in my entire radio career. I was in Kerrville, Texas, at the station that Justin McClure now owns, in Kerrville, Texas, interviewing Chris Knight, and I made him laugh. And that was the scariest, like just I was like, oh my God. Like, I think I peed a little. It was the most frightening thing ever.
Uh, that's
And I don't even
so
remember what I did to make it. I still have it on cassette. I need to go back and listen to the interview. I have a whole bunch of my old interviews still on cassettes that we recorded, at the
uh,
time. But yeah, still just gives me chills. That laugh.
I tell this a similar story about Chris Knight, and it was one time I opened for him, and he sang this song. I can't remember that. It's like his biggest song. I can't remember the title of it right now, but it's the one where he grabs the boat and he avenges his brother's death.
Down the
Um,
river.
Down the river. This is a big. I
Yeah.
can't believe I forgot the name of that one.
Such a cool
But
song.
it's such an incredible song, especially when he gets to the part about revenge.
Yeah.
And he looked right at me for some reason. I
Oh
was
my
like, I was in the
God.
front row, and when he was singing that line, for some reason, his eyes just clawed over at mine. And he sang them to me, and it was the scariest. And in my head, my brain was trying to fathom it, going like, "Did this dude kill somebody?" And he's admitting it to you right now. I think this dude really killed someone. So yeah, scary
It's
as
a
hell.
genius. It's a genius move. Sing about killing people when you kill people, and they say, "Yeah," and he's like, "Well, I wouldn't be dumb enough to sing about it if I killed somebody." I mean, it's a genius. It's a mafia move, is what it is.
I think we're coming to a great TV show that me and you need to start about a serial killer who writes songs about serial
But
killers.
yeah, about killing. Yeah,
We're gonna make
absolutely.
so much money. Netflix, look our way. This is gonna be big. I can't wait for that one.
Right.
We've been talking with on-air personality for 95.9 The Ranch in Fort Worth, Mr. Shayne Hollinger. Shayne, thank you for sitting down, chatting with me, talking, wasting a Saturday morning. I appreciate all that, my good friend.
Absolutely, buddy. And before we go, I love your new music, man. Hounded Me is a freaking great, great song. Well done on that.
Thank you so much. Produced by Mr. Mike McClure.
See, I told you he's a good producer.
He's an incredible human being. I
Sometimes.
love that guy. Sometimes he works. Sometimes it works. I
Depends on
love it
what
when
he
I go,
has to work with. So, he
yeah,
obviously
Soul
did some
Gravy Light
magic.
is what I'm aiming for right here. Soul Gravy Light. That's all I'm aiming
Go
for.
back to self-deprecating humor. That's what we're good at. See, it comes full circle. That's what we do in radio.
Yeah.
Bring it back around.
Feed it. Just keep with the insults. I come from an Hispanic family. It usually comes at me in Spanish. Ya te dije que no, cabrón.
That's what
So
I thought. Yeah.
that's what I thought. Shayne, thank you so much for joining us, man. I appreciate you, buddy.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate you.